Our main stories this morning now, and 125 people are now confirmed to have died, 200 others wounded in suicide bomb attacks in the heart of the Iraqi capital.
Many of the deaths came when a lorry blew up close to a busy shopping area of Baghdad where people were eating and drinking after observing the Ramadan fast.
Iraq hasn't really had a day of real peace since the Americans, British and their allies invaded in 2003. So what can be done about the catastrophic situation in the country? Joining us now, Dr. Afshin Shahi, a lecturer in Middle East politics and international relations at the University of Bradford. Very good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's worth reflecting, I think, for a moment on the scale of this particular attack. This was a huge blast, wasn't it?
Yes, I mean, it was very unfortunate. As you said, over 120 people lost their lives yesterday. And this kind of atrocity reminded me the beginning of the sectarian conflict in Iraq in 2006, 2007, when we were witnessing kind of big-scale atrocities and suicide bombings in different parts of Iraq, despite the fact that Iraq has been very unstable, obviously, ever since 2003. But this kind of explosion with that kind of a scale wasn't kind of very usual. And what we saw yesterday was a big reminder that the country still has a very long journey to peace and stability.
And we're hearing stories that of whole families wiped out in these explosions.
Yes, I mean, this is unfortunately the dark reality of the conflict in Iraq. Since the beginning of the conflict in 2003, hundreds of thousands of people have lost their lives. And unfortunately, the nature of the violence, I mean, certainly when it comes to suicide bombing and what we have seen lately over the last 6 or 7 months, are absolutely indiscriminate. I mean, they don't care who they're going to target. They ultimately go for soft targets in markets, in places where people congregate, and as a result, almost anybody for them is a fair target.
So on the one hand, we have reports of some success against ISIS strongholds, and then on the other hand, we see a target like this. Can you just sort of pull those things together for us?
I mean, the situation has changed quite a lot over the last 13 or 14 months. About 14 months ago, this time, the so-called Islamic State controlled 4 important cities in Iraq and a lot more territory. But today, they only control 1 city, which is obviously the center of gravity. Mosul, for them, is a center of gravity. Nonetheless, they have lost a lot of territory. Having said that, they still control about 15% of the territory in Iraq. And as they have been kind of losing more and more ground, they have increasingly resorted to their kind of traditional tactics to create maximum terror, maximum destruction with minimal resources.
And from what you're saying then, that is likely to continue?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the Islamic State is losing a lot of ground, as I mentioned early on. Since May 2015, they haven't had a single major successful operation. And you see kind of this pattern. As they started to face some serious difficulties on the ground, they increasingly resorted on kind of the traditional suicide bombing tactics and terroristic tactics. And I think the Islamic State has the ability to be way more dangerous when it kind of faces difficulty and when it becomes weaker. It is just like a wounded snake, which can be way more dangerous.
OK, Afshin Shahi, thank you for your time here at Breakfast this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, the time now is 6:44. You're watching Breakfast from BBC News. The main story